This is an ad by BetterHelp. What comes to mind when you hear the word gratitude? Maybe it's a daily practice, or maybe it feels hard to be grateful right now. Don't forget to give yourself some thanks by investing in your well-being. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy provider in the world, connecting you to qualified professionals via phone, video, or message chat. Let the gratitude flow. Visit BetterHelp.com to learn more and save 10% on your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com.
Today on CityCast Pittsburgh. After living in this city for more than a decade, I decided it was time for a challenge, learning to say one sentence in a convincing Pittsburgh accent. Today, we're revisiting my Pittsburghese lesson with a local dialect coach and talking about why he thinks it's so distinct. But y'all, he tricked me. He asked me to recite Shakespeare in a Yinzer accent. And if you think that's easy, well, stay tuned. It's Tuesday, November 19th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's how all Yin's talking at. Don Wadsworth is an actor, voice coach, and speech teacher. He's here with me in studio. He's a professor emeritus at CMU's School of Drama, and maybe most importantly, you are a born and bred Pittsburgher. Welcome to CityCast.
Thank you very much. That's quite true. I've been able to have a life in Pittsburgh, even though I've worked out of town a lot.
Can you explain to me maybe the difference between accent and dialect? I'd always heard it called a Pittsburgh accent, but I learned through the process of getting ready for this, lead producer Mallory Falk discovered that it is not, in fact, an accent. It's a dialect.
It depends on who you ask.
Really?
Yes, because even the dictionary definitions get it a little confused.
Is it by nationality, by
Well, here's how
history?
I look at it. As a person who does this for a living, this is the way I look at it.
You're the expert in the room, no doubt.
Well, no, but I'm saying other people have different ideas. So to me, a dialect is a regionalism. Okay, so it's some brand of the way one naturally speaks. So for Americans, for most Americans, you're saying British and American sounds are dialects. So Brooklyn for us is a dialect.
Okay.
South Carolina is a dialect. Most of these are geography. Mm-hmm. Whereas an accent is a person who is making a transition from the way they normally speak into another language, like English, for example. So we call German, Italian, French, and a zillion other languages accents.
Okay.
But people use them interchangeably. Sometimes I do too. But technically speaking, and nobody cares if it's technically right or not, but technically speaking, Pittsburgh would be a dialect not unlike Houston or Michigan. You know?
Okay. What is the first thing that you tell students about that Pittsburgh dialect when you first get started with someone?
The way that I go about this, let me just spend a second on this, is that you do some dissecting of what the sounds are, okay? And you say, the way most people would pronounce the following words is this: spot, dog, hot, coffee. But where you hear some strong Pittsburgh dialects, you'll hear this: spot, dog, coffee, you know?
The aw sound.
The aw sound. So where people normally would have kind of a bright vowel in there, hot. It's kind of a bright sound, hot. When we go to the Pittsburgh dialect, we go hot. It's very hot outside, very hot. We start there. And even if you only did that, you would have a good start on this.
How important is rhythm, too?
Yeah.
Because one of the first things I noticed upon moving here is the kind of the upspeak at the end of a sentence.
Exactly right.
Like,
exactly right.
You know, what are you getting at the store? Like, there's always that extra emphasis right at the end.
I bet that some of that has to do with our Irish background in there. Because an Irishman often has a bit of a lift at the end of the sentence, you know, and it has that lift to it. And so Pittsburghers have something like that left from like 120 years ago, where they'll say, I'm going downtown. Has like a question pad.
Yeah, question mark. That's a good way to put it.
Sounds like a question. And so did Irish people even today. Now, that's a pretty strong version of a Pittsburgh dialect. So if it was getting too cartoonish, maybe we'd get that out of the way. But we would keep things like, a major thing, of course, is the ow sound, like crowd, house, down, like that. And so anytime I need something authentic, I'll find it on YouTube, like a real person who really owns that dialect. Doing some homework on a real Pittsburgh dialect in which you weren't making fun of it and you weren't exaggerating it involves political leaders. You know, we had Sophie Masloff in our city for quite a while who had a very strong dialect.
Indeed. Former mayor of Pittsburgh, the only female mayor still to this day.
That's right. And like, it was astonishing to hear her speak.
Let me say, it is a great personal honor to be the mayor of this city. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support.
Bill Cowher, you know?
Yep, former coach of the Steelers.
Absolutely.
You know, as a coach, you ask people to trust. And what is trust? Trust is something as a coach you have to earn. Trust is unconditional, but trust can be powerful.
And quite a number of people who had sort of prestigious jobs. And so it wasn't about like a social class thing. It was just about the common sense of where people learned to speak and how much they wanted to kind of hold on to that. So you can still hear Bill Cowher. I mean, he's still.
Oh yeah, and well, every Sunday on ESPN.
Absolutely, and you can
or
still
CBS Sports.
And you can still hear him say "crowd" when he means crowd.
Every single time. Today's show is brought to you by Handmade Arcade. Here on the CityCast Pittsburgh team, we love shopping small and local, and every winter you are guaranteed to see all of us at Handmade Arcade's annual holiday market. It's going down this year, December 6th and 7th, and you've got to put it on your holiday to-do list. Our crew has picked up all kinds of unique gifts there, like gorgeous handmade wooden cutting boards, a crocheted hat that makes you look like a cute little brown bear, ornaments, art, jewelry, candles, handbags, prints, even a calendar once with monsters like Godzilla taking over national and local parks. Like, it is the best. This year's market will feature over 275 makers, plus free activities and live demonstrations like beginner ceramics, glass blowing, and screen printing. Again, that's December 6th and 7th downtown at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. Tickets to shop at the main event are free, but you do have to register, or you can be a VIP like me and shop early without the crowds. That's Handmade Arcade's Friday night preview party or during Saturday's early birdie option. Get all the information and your tickets at handmadearcade.org.
Stunning stalactites, stupendous stalagmites, flowing limestones frozen in time, formations that are bigger than most houses. Luray Caverns has so many jaw-dropping marvels, you have to see it to believe it. And after the awe and wonder of the caverns, explore local history at the Shenandoah Heritage Museum. Get a hands-on lesson in geology as you mine for gems at the Gem Sluice. See the oldest operating car in America at the Car and Carriage Caravan. And take a look at the simpler life on the streets of Toy Town Junction. For almost 150 years, families have been unlocking all the must-see wonders of nature that you can discover at Luray Caverns 365 days a year. Plan the perfect holiday adventure your whole family will love at luraycaverns.com.
Well, I think that I'm ready to study with you as well. Do you think you can give me some particulars on maybe getting a phrase or two correct?
Sure. Absolutely.
Let's see how bad I can mess this up.
Or not. So I brought you a classic phrase.
Dawn brought props.
I brought a phrase that lots of folks might know and would never, ever, under any circumstances, be done with this dialect. Okay. So,
it's Shakespeare.
Shakespeare. So we could have fun with it. So if we were going to speak in a very particular way with this, I'm preparing some high British stuff now for a play I'm about to do. We would say, speak the speech I pray you as I pronounce it to you, trippingly on the tongue. Very forward, very, very clean, right?
Very Sir Ian McKellen.
Very much so. Very much so. And just a few blocks away from where that person lives, you will hear a working class English accent. Speak the speech I pray you as I pronounce it to you, tripling on the tongue. You know, very different thing altogether.
Yeah.
Goes in a different place in your voice, has a different rhythm, as you mentioned.
There's something about listening to accents and dialects like this that tickles the brain in a really fun way.
I totally agree. It's a fun job, believe me. I'm amazed that I got this job. But Pittsburgh, different story.
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have too much to do in the very first words. Okay. But most people outside of the U.S. have a hard time with a TH sound. Okay. Because it seems so rude.
Rude?
Because you have to stick your tongue out to say the. And people go, oh, it's a little gross. So for example, the French will always say fazer, mazer. They're not going to do that TH sound. Okay. So we go, speak a speech, speak a speech.
Speak to speech.
Speak a, or well, you can put a little D in this. Speak to speech. I'm trying to get it to be muddy, actually.
Speak to speech.
Something like that.
Okay. I think I'm taking it too literally.
That's okay. That's right. Then you go, I prayins.
I prayins.
I prayins. Yeah.
prayins.
You can't be that protective of it though. You have to like throw it away.
Okay.
So it goes, speak to speech, I prayins.
Speak to speech, I prayins.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get that.
I know. I did a downturn too, which also feels weird as soon as I say it.
Then we go, as I pronounced it, which is quite ironic little joke there.
Yeah.
So
as
you
I
go,
pronounced it.
as I pronounced it.
As I pronounced it.
Yeah, it's a very basic idea. I'm giving you some directions. Take my directions.
As I pronounced it.
As I pronounced it. Yeah. As I pronounced it, Tians.
As I pronounced it, Tians. I feel like adding a hand motion makes this feel more adorable.
Feel free. If it makes it work, it's fine.
I'm finding myself copying your body language too.
Do whatever you like. So as I pronounce it, Tians, trippingly on the tongue.
Trippingly on the tongue.
On a
tongue.
Trippingly on a tongue.
Trippingly.
We're going to say trippingly.
Trippingly on a tongue.
That ing thing, it's way too much work.
Trippingly on a tongue.
Yeah. Now that on bury it. Okay?
Bury it.
Yeah. So it's on a tongue.
On a tongue.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good on your on.
Okay.
That's exactly right on the on.
Okay.
Right. Now,
got one.
Good job. We got one word out of that. That's good. So the T on tongue is what we call dentalize. Okay? We go t. So your teeth come down on your tongue, actually.
Oh.
On a tongue. Trippingly on a tongue.
Trippingly on a tongue.
Tongue. Yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to make it sound a little dull, actually. Here we go. It's a major operation. I can see it in your face.
Trippingly on a tongue.
You're getting there.
Okay.
Here's the whole deal, okay?
Okay.
Speak the speech I prayins as I pronounce the Tians, trippingly on the tongue.
Speak the speech I prayins as I pronounce the Tians, trippingly on a tongue.
See why people go, what is this dialect that you're teaching me? What is this? It's so unusual.
Is this a real example you give to people with Shakespeare?
No. I'm just doing this to make a fool out of you.
Yeah, congratulations.
I just thought we would start with something that people know. And also, I wanted to find an owl word in the line. So pronounced, I thought was ironically helpful.
Yeah. Okay. What's a real phrase that you give people when they're starting out?
I don't usually do that with phrases.
No, you just do you just work with the script as it's written?
Start with the script, yeah. But I would say, there are things that will come up. Like even the name of the city can be Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh with a K.
Yeah.
Or Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Familiar with that one.
Yeah, right. You don't live on the north side or the south side. You live on north side. Mm-hmm. North side. Again, we don't want to say our THs.
Okay. Yeah.
We're getting rid of anything that we can let go of. Be sloppy or take a shortcut. If you don't believe something, and you want to prod somebody to go further with it, you go nah. Another way of expressing something that you don't believe, you go, get out.
Yeah.
That can't be true. Red, yellow, blue, they're colors. Colors. They're not colors, like the rest of the world says. Yeah, what color? What color is your hair? What color are you using? So there's a lot of that kind of work that people are very comfortable with, especially when people share that accent together, that dialect with them.
Have you ever taught Pittsburghers how to speak with this, what is kind of a native dialect, but maybe they grew up in the era of television or felt like they needed to shed it to leave town and be taken seriously? Well,
here's the thing. You don't normally teach this dialect. It doesn't come up very much. It's remarkable that I have had.
Come on, Hollywood, bring it back.
Sorry. We just don't have those stories. Now, I think we can name about 10 or 12 films that are set in Pittsburgh. But even they didn't use the dialect always. We used it in this Tom Hulce, Ray Liotta film called Dominic and Eugene because it was very much about a working class environment, and we name the city quite a lot. It doesn't happen in Flashdance except for maybe one or two characters. The biggest kind of adventure professionally for me was Warrior with Tom Hardy. And it did take place in Pittsburgh. You saw Pittsburgh, but my job in that particular film was to make Tom sound like an American, period, because he's so very, very English. He's got the working class kind of personality, but we had to take all that sort of East End London out of him. So going one step further and making it more Pittsburgh, nobody was interested
From East End London to South Side Pittsburgh?
That's right. That's exactly what it was. That would be way too much. So the point of all this is sometimes we use it, sometimes we don't. Where it seems to fit into the milieu of the world and the personality of the film that you're doing, then yes, we'll turn that on.
Yeah. Don, this has been thoroughly embarrassing for me. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to have done it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. If you're liking the show, please tell someone, rate us, leave us a nice review, and make sure you're subscribed to that Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Talk to you soon. Trippingly, Tug. I can't say the word trippingly. I think that's the problem.
Ironic that you're messing that word up. Trippingly.
Trippingly on a tongue.
Trippingly on the tongue.
Okay, trippingly on a tongue.